The Battle of Ramoth-Gilead. He was tired of waiting. The city of Ramoth-Gilead was his by right, and now he was going to take back what was taken from his father. Having succeeded in forging the first military alliance between the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah since the united monarchy split nearly 80 years earlier, he was confident the campaign would be a success. On this spring morning, after a 3-day march, the alliance arrayed facing the Aramean encampment, with Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, at the front, near the right wing, and himself disguised as a chariot archer. The Arameans, occupying the higher ground and the sun at their backs, had an advantage over the alliance army, who, because of their approach, would have to look into the sun as they fought. As the opposing infantry moved closer, the generals signaled. A swarm rose silently from behind the Aramean front and coalesced into a wide, dark cloud. The cloud, unable to rise higher, stalled and then fell like dark rain toward the alliance position. Infantry within range of the archers knelt with shields raised to fend off the deadly missiles, but many still found their targets. Once the barrage ceased, the alliance archers answered with a volley of their own, while their infantry and chariots held their advance in order to avoid friendly fire. It was there that conventional strategy ended. The battle cries went up from both armies as they surged toward each other. The chariots were expected to attempt to scatter the opposition, to allow their infantry to close in and exploit the gaps they created. Instead, the entire division of enemy chariots with their 32 commanders turned and raced in pursuit of a single chariot near the right wing. The driver was lashing his horse team, attempting to put distance between him and his pursuers, with his passenger crying out as they fled. It was Ahab's ally, Jehoshaphat, the father of his son-in-law and regent of the southern kingdom. At first, astonished by such a peculiar tactic, he quickly realized with genuine amusement that this was going according to his plan. He had hedged his bet and won. Had he not disguised himself, it would have been him with his back to Aramean chariot archers instead of that poor fool. Then the chariots suddenly ceased their pursuit, wheeled around, and returned to the main field of battle, allowing their man to escape. Before the battle, Ben-Hadad had ordered his chariot commanders to ignore everyone else on the field but Ahab, the enemy king. Ben-Hadad's generals knew this man well from the sieges of Samaria, which had taken place 3 and 4 years earlier. They had somehow lost not once, but twice to Ahab's vastly inferior forces. The first time, Ben-Hadad had to flee for his life. The second time, he had to beg Ahab to spare him. Now this Samaritan king was at his door, and it was time to finally rid himself of this thorn in his side. Ben-Hadad knew that if he managed to kill him, the enemy army would flee for home. The chariot commanders had discovered that the one in the royal robes was not their man. Realizing there were indeed 2 kings here, not just one, they returned to engage the main enemy force, but the Samaritan king was invisible among his troops. The battle was now a maelstrom of hand-to-hand fighting at the center, with chariots from each army trying to outflank their opponents. If either could collapse their opponent's weaker flank, it would then be possible to encircle their enemies, who would then be obliged to fight and defend themselves on all sides at once. Even though disguised, the king was not cowardly. He shot his arrows at enemy infantry and chariots as his driver charged toward them, and then wheeled around to rush again. Then, searing, relentless pain. He was hit. Gasping, he ordered his driver to remove him from the field. He traced the path of blood streaming across his chest to a single arrow wound at the only vulnerable spot in his armor, a joint between his scale armor and breastplate. He cursed the lucky shot. It was pointless to try to remove the arrow. The barbs would just injure him more. He knew this type of wound was nearly always fatal. Now, out of range of the bowman, with the help of his driver Ahab, the king of Israel propped himself up in his chariot, facing the Aramean enemy to watch the outcome of the battle. The air was barely breathable, choked with dust and the stench of the blood of dying men and animals. Above the plain, he could see the sky just beginning to streak with red as evening approached. The clouds hung motionless. He hadn't noticed it before, but the heavens seemed completely at peace and unaffected by what was happening below. The rumble from the horse teams, the sound of swords and shields meeting, and cries of both the living and dying faded and then erupted again as he struggled to remain conscious. The chariot floor filled with blood. So, he thought, the old man was right. And he hated him more than ever.